Welcome back, Sunny, to Full Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. I'm so
Thank
excited to
you.
have you back on the show. So, for the listeners, I just want to mention that you were on the Full Time Yoga Teacher Podcast back in episode 49. So, if you
Mhm.
haven't listened to that episode and want to hear about Sunny's full story, go back and listen to that episode. And today we're kind of catching up on how's her teaching life and career has evolved since then. So, I just want to say I'm so happy to have this chat with you again, and tell the listener where are you logging in from at this moment?
Long Beach, California,
Mm,
LBC.
yes, and it's been a very sunny spring weather lately, which is nice.
Lately, but we've had a lot of rain too, I feel like, which
Yeah.
I'm always trying to remind myself that that is a good thing, like we need
Yeah.
it. We get so spoiled. We get so spoiled.
Mm. Yeah, I really get to see the I mean, we all do get to see the effect of the rain. Like, when I go running on trails, it's just
hmm
so green and
hmm
beautiful.
hmm
So I see, like, such a positive impact after it rains. So I appreciate the rain, but it is hard when we wanna, like, go outside or walk
hmm
or run and it's raining outside, but we're
Yeah,
spoiled here.
big time.
For sure. Okay, so let's chat about how is your teaching evolved since last time we chatted?
It's evolved significantly. That's why I was like, it'd be nice to kind of share with folks that the direction I thought I was going is a complete 180 from where I am right now. Like last time we interviewed, I was up to maybe 13 classes a week or so. And, or maybe like around 11, because I think I had just cut some out because of realizing that if I was going to play more in childcare than what I would make teaching, I think I nixed those classes. And now I'm at 4 classes a week. I am only at one studio. When I was at all of those other places, or when I had like 11 plus classes, I was at like 4 different places. I was all over this city, which was wonderful, honestly, for just creating connections far and wide in the city. Cause Long Beach is small, but it's big. So I love that. But I will say that being at one place fits me much better. And 4 classes a week is newer. For a while, I was at two, and that was great. And then all of a sudden it's jumped up to 4, and I'm a little bit on the fence of that. Like, I like 4, I think,
Uh-huh.
but I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, so tell us, like, how did that change happen? You were kinda going full in on being a full-time teacher. You were teaching
Mhm.
Pilates and
Mhm.
yoga Pilates, 13 classes a week, and, like, lit how did that become to 4 classes a week? What was the process like? Was it intentional, or did it just happen? Like, I'm curious how did it change?
It is so funny because you asking that now, there's lots of ways I could answer it, but the ultimate way to answer it is figuring out how to value yourself, literally. That's what it is. So if I think about it from that perspective, it's very much intentional. Planned? Expected? No. I don't think anybody wants to significantly slash their income out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying? But it was just like the domino effect, like one by one, like another one bites the dust, you know what I'm saying? Like the first one, I was at a place. It's tough. I don't want to necessarily call out where I was just because I'm in good relationship with everywhere that I work still. I don't know if I was still at Long Beach Rising when we interviewed. I don't think I was. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
that one left because at the time Sunday was my only day off and I was
Mhm.
exhausted and it was a vinyasa class and I wasn't feeling as connected to vinyasa. So that one is different because I felt valued there and that, all of that was great. And you're great because you lead the scheduling of teachers at Long Beach Rising, a climbing gym in the city. But another Pilates studio that I was at, it was a newer studio. And because of that, the pay was very low. It was $20 per hour for everybody. It didn't matter what your experience was. Everybody was getting around that much. And then after you had like 8 students or something like that, it was like $3 per head after that up to 18. So the total you could make, I think, was like 42 or 45 or something like that. And my classes did get really popular, super popular, mostly sold out every week. But again, that amount of money did not warrant getting childcare for. I would still be in the red. You know what I'm saying? In terms of how much it would cost to get a nanny versus how much I was bringing home for those classes. So I said, it's time for me to step away from this. She understood. We'll leave it at that. She understood. And then at another place, a much bigger place that I
Mhm.
was teaching, it was a demanding class. It was hot.
Mhm.
It's called Hot Pilates. I taught 2 back to back.
Mhm.
Long story short, I asked for more money because of teaching those 2 classes back to back being pretty demanding and there not being that asked of anybody else on that schedule. Both of
Mhm.
those classes stayed full and waitlisted, and they said no, so I said, "Bye."
Mhm.
It just, like, keeps going like that. So then
Mhm. Mhm.
at another Pilates place that I taught at, the owner needed me to work this triple shift.
Mhm.
That would make me stressed to get to where I needed to get to next and to pick up my child.
Mhm.
If anyone has a child in daycare, they know the fee that they charge for you being late to pick up your kiddo is, like, astronomical, more than what I was
I
getting paid per class.
I didn't know that there was a
Yeah,
fee when you're
yeah,
late to pick your
yes.
kid up.
Which I understand because they wanna go, you know what I mean? Like, I get it.
Mhm.
But she needed me to work this triple shift that just made 0 sense because it was in the middle of the day. Very few people
Mhm.
come at 1 o'clock, it just is what it is.
Mhm.
But me not working that triple shift put me below the, like, minimum number of hours you needed in order to stay on her payroll, so it just was like, "Well, then I'll have to let you go." And
Mhm.
that one was harder because I wasn't expecting it, and it wasn't an issue of
Mm.
pay, it was just more scheduling.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I let it go, I felt relieved.
Mhm.
I didn't miss teaching at all. I missed the community and the people. But you know how
Mhm.
sometimes you need a break and you don't know you need a break?
Yeah.
So it was the break I didn't know that I needed.
Yeah.
And then it was just like the one place that I work now is the last man standing. I hope it stays. I mean, geez. I mean, I'm just kind of like, but we're asked to evolve in this world. And
Mhm.
as I've listened to all of your podcasts, it feels like a trajectory that so many yoga teachers go through. You make this
Mhm.
transition and this big commitment to decide to be a hero and be that full-time yoga and Pilates teacher, and you're all over the city and you're driving and you're making connections and doing all these things, and then you're tired. Look,
Mhm.
you get you get tired, you get exhausted. You start to feel like the balance of what you're putting out versus what you're bringing in isn't where you want
Mhm.
it to be.
Mhm.
And if you don't take charge to make a change, I feel like the universe just will.
Mhm.
Know what I'm saying? It'll
Yeah.
just create a situation where it eclipses it out of your life, you know?
Yeah. When I'm hearing your stories and when I'm as I'm listening to it, I'm putting myself in your situation as I'm listening.
Mhm,
I think I would have been scared to lose such a big chunk of income.
mhm,
Like, if I lose all this, I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent, or I'm not gonna
mhm.
be able to pay all my bills. So, how did you deal with that? Did you feel like you had a cushion? Did you feel like you were safe to make those decisions to leave those places?
No. No, like, not at all. And I will be so, so, so vulnerable and honest on this podcast. No, I
Mhm,
am currently living. You know, I was a professor. I had some retirement accounts. I have cashed them out to be able to live. You
mm,
know what I mean,
mhm,
comfortably right now. So it is not comfortable. I have borrowed money recently, and I haven't had to do
mhm,
that in years. So it is like your ego has to go out the door. Those fears that you're talking about, like if you
mhm,
wanted to get rid of those classes, you would be afraid because of X, Y, and
mhm,
Z. I spent 10 years doing that in academia.
mhm. Mhm.
feeling so undervalued and overworked and underpaid, but being so fearful to do anything about it because of
Yeah.
in the name of security and safety, not realizing I'm undoing any sense of security and safety with how miserable I was. Because
Mm.
misery leads to being sick, and then being sick leads to you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I was certainly more stable, but I didn't feel
Mhm.
any richer than I do now. So, the
Mhm.
capacity to keep doing something out of fear, I do not have it anymore. I
Mhm.
don't have it, and I don't think that is necessarily a good thing. So, I don't want nobody listening to think that's what they should do because my financial situation is not ideal. So I'm gonna be
Mhm.
100% clear about that. But
Mhm.
my financial situation not being ideal is the only option because being undervalued and underpaid and overworked isn't. And I
Mhm.
don't know how to explain it. It's just where I can't do it. I just
Mhm.
and it was so clean, at
Mhm.
all the places I was at. It was like I asked they looked into it. I don't wanna give that's why I'm not naming them because there's no shade. They all
Mhm.
tried to retain me.
Mhm.
But when they couldn't, it was just like, "Okay, great. Bye." I
Mhm.
just I've done it. I did it too long. I did it too long,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
can't anymore. So
Yeah.
that's what that is, and I don't really know how to explain it other than my body just doesn't do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I admire you for that so much
Thank
because
you.
most yoga teachers are just, I guess, people in this, I guess, industry. Some people don't like to call it industry, but who is movement teachers, instructors, fitness instructors, whatever you want to call it. A lot of us don't have that courage, I think. So I really, really, really admire that you have like seems like you have a very strong values or like self-worth. You know
Mhm,
your self-worth and you have a very clear boundary about it. Like it's and then you're not so you have left all of those places with a good relationship.
mhm,
It's not like you
mhm.
got in a fight with the
No.
owner or manager and like
Mhm,
left, but you kind of all left in this like very professional, in a good relationship. You still
mhm.
kept a good relationship with all of them. And that's something I feel like I interview a lot of yoga teachers, and definitely you're the outlier in that. Most
Oh,
people
well,
are like, I
thank
feel like
you.
struggle with that boundary work.
Thank you. I received that,
Mhm.
and, I'm 45. Part of it is age, right? Like, I was not like this in my 20s or even my 30s or maybe even my early 40s, So, I wanna be very clear that and I don't think it's anything that has to wait until you're in your 40s. In fact, I think younger people are starting to do that a little bit earlier now. I don't think it's anything you
Mhm.
have to earn. I don't believe in this idea that we all have to suffer through feeling unworthy for a number of years before we
Mhm.
decide to find the boundary better.
Mhm.
Thank you for calling it courage.
Mhm.
It feels more like the only option.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I just want to be clear in that from my perspective, it's not me being courageous or brave. I'm trying to think of a simple way to explain it. It's just like if you have an allergic reaction to a food, you don't eat
Mhm.
it, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll have an allergic reaction. That is the way I can describe each of those situations.
Mhm.
The reaction that my body and mind would have to continuing to do that, and I'm not giving
Mhm.
all the details around everything just because I
Mhm.
wanna be respectful, and I think that's less
Yeah.
important, but there are things as it relates to it's funny when I listen back to the first podcast we did, I realized I never said I was a Black woman. I'm sure people could gather that. I never specifically said that, and I'll
Mhm.
just say broadly in these situations, being Black and a woman played a part in each of
Yeah.
them as it related to
Mhm.
getting a structural raise, you know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
I think it's also from that standpoint that I just was like, I am done. I am so done.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's not a bone in my body that can do that anymore.
Mhm.
So I'm trusting that financially things will work out and they are working out, just not quite to that idealistic point. But it'll get there. It'll get there.
Mhm. And
And that's
I
also
wanna
why I want to be like If other people decide they wanna be courageous, like, don't throw yourself into poverty, you know? I wanna be so clear about that.
It sounds like, because you're in my mentorship group, we talk about yoga philosophy a lot. And in
Mhm,
yoga philosophy, according to the sutras of Patanjali, we talk about seeing things clearly. And when we
mhm.
get to see things clearly, like we can really align ourselves with our values and our
Yeah,
purpose and our dharma. And then that's
yes.
kind of what you're saying with like your whole body and just knew this is not the path and I must walk out of this situation or leave this situation. You knew from deep inside that was the right path for you, decision.
Okay, quick plug. I know we're gonna talk about this specifically, but your mentorship literally it's just now hitting me that it's through your mentorship program that I developed the skills and the ability to say no to those other places. Because it was through such a very deep sense of clarity that I knew I had to walk away from those positions. Because let me tell you, I talked to my friends about it, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
They would just come back with all of this stuff around the story, which was very true. And my
mhm,
response was always, I'm not telling myself that story. I get what
mhm,
you're saying, but at the bare bones reality of it, this is what they're saying. This is where I'm at. So I have to walk away, you know?
mhm.
And I think that's what allowed there to be a sense of peace around it. I think that's what allowed
Yeah.
there to let it end with good relationships in all of the places. I still go practice at most of those places.
Mhm,
So, yeah, that was just a big
mhm,
that was the light bulb moment for me to
mm,
realize that the weeks of studying philosophy with you, they seep in, you know what I'm saying? In
mhm.
ways that you don't even realize until you see it
Yeah.
materialize in your life in that way.
Mm. And I love the word you said. You felt peace with those decisions that you made and bringing in Amy Echo, who's also been on this podcast a couple times, who's my Yoga Sutras teachers. That's exactly what she says. It's like when you see things clearly,
Mhm.
then the decisions you make, sometimes it's not the easiest decision, sometimes it's still very difficult decisions that you make, but those decisions were made with clarity and not from your kleshas or your root cause of suffering. Then there's a peace. There's a sense of like quiet calmness and peace to
Mhm.
that's a residue that's left in you rather than sometimes you make a decision it's like maybe I should have done it like that or maybe I should have said this more or I should have said that or I shouldn't have said this.
Mm,
Those kind of internal dialogue kind of takes over. But I remember her saying like there's this residue that is like quality of peace. There's this quiet
mhm.
peace. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It kind of reminded me of that when you said there was a peace to that decisions you made.
I love the word residue.
Hmm.
That's what really sticks with me. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because that's also your confirmation, I think, for your
Yeah.
decision making. And with each of those places, the sense of residue I was left with in terms of being
Mm.
so excited to not have to spend my Sundays prepping for 2 hot Pilates classes with crazy choreography, using way too many props, doing all this crazy stuff. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. It's actually
Uh-huh.
like, I wouldn't say a dear friend, but somebody that I really respect who even, like, brought me on to that place, and I so appreciate it. But I just was like, "Oh, I can just relax on Sunday nights. I don't have to spend it trying to create this multi-layered."
Mhm.
Have you seen it? Like, the sculpt things where it's like you're doing a
No.
lunge and then a bicep curl, and then you layer on an arabesque, and then you layer on a pirouette, and then you layer on a backflip, like, you
Uh,
I'm being, a bit, but, like,
yeah.
it was fun while I did it, but now I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I don't miss it. Just like the other
Uh-huh.
place that was on a machine when I taught Pilates on a machine, not a reformer, but a different kind of machine.
Mm,
I wasn't left with this sense of like, oh, it was
mm,
like, oh my gosh, I have space. I'm not spending Wednesdays trying to figure out a new routine on it?
mhm.
So that's something for folks to pay attention to. Do you feel relief after a decision? It's probably the right one?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I'm curious, last time when we spoke on this podcast, where I want to kind of compare where did you think you were kind of building your teaching career towards back then with 13 classes a week? And did you feel like you were going to continue that kind of pacing of teaching, teaching, teaching versus like now scaling back to 4 classes a week? And where do you see yourself in what avenues and areas of your teaching life are you trying to build up into? So I'm kind of curious, how was it before? What was what were you envisioning before versus what are you
Mhm.
envisioning now?
It's a total 180. I remember in the last podcast saying, I have this many number of classes, and I'm going to have to combine that with going back to being a faculty member at, Cal State Long Beach in order to make ends meet. So I kind of come to this conclusion that I had essentially failed at trying to become full-time yoga and Pilates teacher, and that I would just need to combo past experience things and maybe keep the same number of classes I was teaching. But in my head now, looking back now, there was no way that was sustainable for me. To, as I already mentioned, excuse me, now I'm at 4 classes a week and I quit my job. I resigned. I like to say I retired, but I can't because it's too young. July 2025, I was done as a
Mm,
professor. Isn't
mm.
that so crazy?
It took a long time. Like, like for you to, I know you were thinking about it and you were like slowly scaling back. And then to finally say like July 2025, like that was it. Like I'm done.
Well, what was keeping me there was I was unable to come to peace with losing a certain benefit that I would get,
Mm,
which is an awesome pension, like a payment that I would get for the rest of my life when I hit retirement age.
mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to lose that if I
Mm,
resigned. And then when I was speaking with HR, they let me know, no, that's yours.
mm,
It'll continue to grow until you hit 52 and can officially
mm,
retire. Then you turn in the paperwork and you'll receive that pension. And once
mm,
I
mm,
found that out, I was like,
mhm.
deuces, bye. Like, oh my gosh, I ran up out of there. Like wrote my little resignation letter because that's what was keeping me. Because it was just like I
Mm,
had just made the cutoff in terms of the
mhm.
amount of service years. Like I was at 10 point something to whatever years to be
Yeah.
vested, to be matched, and to get that payment
Mm,
once a month for the rest of my life, something that could be passed
mm,
to my child. And I just was like, I couldn't wrap my head around losing that benefit. So when I found
mhm,
out that no, you actually keep it, I was
mhm,
I was freed.
mm,
But trust me, I explored every avenue to try to keep that job. I was like, what if
mhm,
I switched departments? I interviewed some folks working in like Africana studies and, even like public health departments. Like I was just trying to find my place and
mhm,
nothing.
mm,
Every time I would go to think about it, my whole body just spoke to me. You know what I'm saying? I just was like,
mhm,
I
mhm,
just can't. The thought of planning a class, oh gosh, even now I just am like recoiling. You know what I mean? Or
mhm,
grading papers or being in
yeah,
department I was done. I was done. And I
mhm,
just felt like bringing that kind of energy even to a new department, it would be so unfair to the other people in the department. Like, I would
mhm,
literally be that person that was only there because of having to be.
mhm, mhm.
And we've all worked with that person, and it's just pretty miserable. And it wasn't something I wanted to choose for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Neither is the current financial situation I'm in. I wouldn't choose that for myself either, but given a choice between the two, I'll take the
Yeah,
latter.
yeah. Because you 'Cause you're happy where you are right now with what you
Very
do.
much, very much. Yeah.
And so you said you're 40 something, so you have like 10 more years and you'll get those monthly pension for rest of your life, you said.
Uh,
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you put
You
in your
see,
time to get that.
yeah. Well, it's like at 52 is when you can get
Mhm.
it. So you see why I
Mhm.
think that was the struggle with
Mhm.
resigning was I just was
Mhm.
like, that is so significant, and I worked
Yeah.
so hard for that. And it would be hard to lose that. But I don't lose it.
Mhm.
I keep it.
I'm happy to hear that.
So once I found that out, that did give me the courage. I'll call that courage to just say, "All right, I've explored every option. I've taken every possible leave, you know. My dean is about ready to just like throw me off a cliff." You know, she was so sick of me by the end of it. It was time. It was just time to yeah, to do it. To just commit to what it was I really wanted to do, you know? So I just wanted that update so that people know even if you think you're going to make some logical decision, it doesn't always end up going that way.
And I think it's a good reminder to it's good to stay open to different changes and
Mhm.
some changes that maybe you didn't expect to or it wasn't part of your plan that you thought of initially, but just being open to different changes that life gives you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
100%. 100%. Even the not so easy changes. You know, it's like if you can recognize that through some of the things that aren't going to feel very good, you're creating space for what it is that you do want. That's what I had to realize with some of the classes that were let go, or that I let go of, was that it was hard because I just it's the community, you know what I mean? Like, the people that would come to those they were just wonderful. Um, so letting that go is hard, but the space it creates. You know, I look, everybody just needs to lay down, okay? Everybody everybody needs to go to sleep, everybody needs to take a nap. You know, like, I understand how that sounds, and in my head, I'm already hearing people being like, "Oh, easy for you to say. Most of us have to, you know, X, Y." Hey, I understand that. I also have bills. I have a child. I get it. And it is through rest that people come up with their greatest ideas. You know what I'm saying? Their greatest businesses. You know, I'm an ambassador for Lululemon, and I was doing some research on the story of how it got created, and, he was bored.
Really?
Yeah, he was bored, and through that boredom, he came up with this idea to have pants that worked really well for people when they were moving their body. He had done something prior to, like, some business that did really well and had him come into quite a bit of money where he just didn't have to do much. And it was from that place of rest that Lululemon, this now billion-dollar company, was birthed, you know? So I know we sometimes build this culture on working ourselves into the ground, or we build an identity around being really hard workers or having so many classes a week or multiple, you know, income streams. And I get that that is a necessity. And rest is essential, I think. I never want to come off as, you know, just go to sleep and you'll wake up a millionaire. Like I think we're all pretty practical and realistic people for the most part. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to say that. I just think this narrative of working ourselves to the ground or creating an identity on how many classes we teach or how many streams of income we have or
Mhm.
you know, X, Y, and Z. I think there's another way, you know, or I think trying to find some kind of balance with rest, time with loved ones, that's where magic can happen sometimes. So
I
I
agree. It's so true, and it's for me, it's really hard to do that, but it is so
mhm,
true that, like, we have to give ourselves some moment of pause or rest or sleep or restorative yoga or just, like, even boredom so that, like you said,
mhm,
Lululemon's found it, like, to come up with new ideas or
mm,
letting some creativity and new ideas kinda, like, come out of us. Like, if we're
mhm,
constantly busy, we're never giving ourselves time to do that. And I feel I have a hard time slowing down because I do think I was raised to kind of attach productivity and how much I can get done and how
mhm.
much of a hard worker I am is kind of connected to self-worth. That's something I'm trying to work on these days, but I think it's such a good reminder that it's okay to have
Yeah.
some downtime in your schedule.
Mhm. I
Mm.
also think it's hard, especially in your case, when you love what you're doing. You know, like you're
So
loving
true.
the work and you're doing it for you, you're doing it for the betterment of others, but like it's your business, it's your work. You know what I'm saying? And I think you're building your dream. So that is hard. And you love the work itself and you're so committed to it. So for people that are like doing that for other people's dreams or, working in a company, then I'm like, okay, really take some time to rethink and re-examine. Harder is when you're in it, from this really aligned place like you are, Reika. It's very inspirational, but it's still so necessary, regardless of the situation you're in. Overworking
Yeah.
isn't really the answer for anybody, I don't think.
Mhm. Yeah, agree. Totally agree with you. Well, I wanna kinda talk about from the outside, I get to see you weekly and chat with you, but from the outside, I feel like you've been doing so many events, doing workshop, you've been partnering and collaborating with different teachers or different locations, businesses, or even bring up in corporate events to teach. So it looks like you've been doing a lot of those lately.
Mhm.
So I know that was something you intentionally wanted to do more events like that. So I'm just
Mhm.
curious from other yoga teachers listening, how do you do it? How do you
Mhm.
create those networking relationship opportunities to find these gigs? What are some things you learned about doing these kind of events outside of studio settings? I want to hear about that's kind of where I see a lot of your teachings going these days. I see you doing a lot of events and workshops.
Yeah, that's so fun to think about. I do remember at the end of your podcast last time, I was like putting it out into the universe how much I wanted to do more events and birthday parties and social gatherings and things of that nature. And that has come to fruition, definitely. And I love
Uh,
it. And
mhm.
it's come to fruition in a few ways. I love social media. It's great, but also don't underestimate the power of word of mouth because that is honestly where most of my opportunities have come from. People have
Yeah.
said, and it's also through your mentorship program. You were asking me
Mhm.
how one of my recent pop ups were able to happen in downtown Long Beach. And it was
Mhm.
through, shout out to Carly. I think I can say her name. She
Mm,
won't mind. She has a contact that was asking for a Pilates teacher, and she put me in touch. And then we got in touch. And this woman is great. And she's trying to
mhm.
drum up Pilates culture in downtown Long Beach. So we're working together to
Nice.
do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is teaching, in your classes, because people will
Mhm.
it was through my classes at Raw mostly that afterward people would come up and say, "I love that class. I have a birthday coming up. Will you teach a birthday
Mhm.
class for me?" I did that this past weekend. And then another friend recently asked me to teach a class to her friends and family after she gets they're gonna elope. Her and her partner are gonna
Oh,
elope. So they want
nice.
like an
Uh-huh.
elopement party with yoga lattes to start.
Mhm.
So that has been amazing. And
Mhm.
then there's another person who takes my class, and I was telling her because she does events all throughout the city. That's her job. She puts on like
Mhm.
markets, not farmers markets, but the same idea with just different vendors, jewelry, candles, hair products. I told her, I was like, "I really wanna do a Pilates and Prosecco event one day." She was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to help with that." And she's just, like, brilliant when it comes to the development of creating, curating community events, and I said, "Okay." So we just had a Pilates and Palomas. It had to be Palomas instead of Prosecco because there was a that person was willing to sponsor alcohol, has, like, a tequila brand, so it was a Paloma drink. And it
Nice.
was it was awesome, and then even that, she reached out to them to see if they would be willing to sponsor it, so we didn't have to pay
Mhm.
for the alcohol, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Sunny is teaching." She gave me the best adjustments when she would teach me in classes at
Mhm.
XYZ studio, you know what I'm saying? So that's
Mhm.
where I'm like, don't underestimate the power of really bringing your full self to group classes. I know group classes
Mhm.
kinda get a lot of bad I don't know what to call it bad flack maybe these days or just,
Mhm.
and not it's not wrong, you know what I'm saying? But like you see group studio classes is not the way to go, right? If you're trying to do this full time, you're probably not going to make as much as you should and this and that and the other. I'm not disagreeing with those things, And they're a great way to build community, a great way
Mhm.
to build word of mouth and just yeah. And I
Mhm.
should mention too that being an ambassador for Lululemon has absolutely propped me up, lifted me up. And a lot of the events came through that store, and them propping me up in the community. So I definitely had a leg up through my ambassadorship. But yeah, all of it has been awesome. I love it.
Yeah. I'm hearing you say that the importance of relationships and
Yeah.
networking and people in your community lifting each other up. Like in the mentorship group, we always try to share different teaching opportunities, or this place is looking for that,
Yeah.
this place is looking for that. We also
Mm.
have, get to know each other, so we get to recommend each other. But also, you said your students from your classes, you just never know what kind of impact or influence you're having on somebody else in the
Mhm.
class. Sometimes, like if you're teaching many group classes and every class have 30, 40 people, you don't realize how much of an individual influence you could be having on these
Mhm.
people. And like you just never know. Like that person can be like, oh, my cousin's sister's brother is having an event, or like their work is looking for somebody to come teach for their wellness events. Like you just
Mhm.
never know what different relationship and connections can lead to.
Mhm.
Um, and that's like a big question that a lot of yoga teachers ask is like, how do you find these opportunities? And almost everybody I ask on the podcast or people I meet, most of them say it's usually word of mouth or somebody recommended them to somebody.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It also doesn't hurt to have an online presence. It doesn't hurt. Think that works.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities that have come my way from that are fewer and not as connected. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like there's nothing like an event coming by way of already having connected with and taught people.
Yeah.
I recently had
Yeah.
somebody reach out to me from up in LA that saw my page and was like, "We love that. Would you consider coming up to LA to do," you know what I mean? And it could work, but I also am like, it's not my people. You know what I mean? Not no offense to it, but I looked at their page and saw what those events look like and I just was like, "Oh, I don't think I'm a good fit for that," you know? Whereas the fit, I think, is much stronger when it's local and because
Yeah.
people have already interacted with you. The
Totally.
other valuable part of your mentorship program is that people have been so supportive of my events. You're always encouraging me to put the links to my events, and I've been super touched by several folks coming. You know, we had a rest and renew event around New Year's at Lululemon in the store, and there was like 4 or 5 people from the mentorship group that came. And I'm telling you, if anybody in that mentorship group puts on an event like I'm there, Carly be putting those events, those hiking events, and your girl doesn't really do that, but with something like in the city where lions and tigers and bears can't eat me, I am there. I am there to support because I'm overwhelmed at the support we have in that group. It's awesome. It's just a really great group of people.
Um, Two different questions I want to ask you, but I'll start with the first one. Um, I know in the past you weren't really interested in or you weren't really into being really out there on social media. And now I just know that you have been very inspired to like really put yourself out there. You not only on Instagram, but even on YouTube, you have a YouTube account now,
Mhm,
and you are always coming up with new classes on YouTube, new YouTube shorts and Instagram
mhm.
reels, and they're all such a great amazing content you're releasing and putting out there.
Thank you.
And I know you were kind of more shy before to kind of get yourself out there, putting your face on the screen
Mhm.
and but now I feel like you have really conquered that fear and really are out there. I'm curious, like, has it made any kind of impact? I know you said the relationship, personal relationship and network is the best way, but
Mhm.
since last year or so, I think you have really put more effort into your social media, your website, your YouTube account. So maybe share a little bit of that journey and how's that going?
This is nuts. It's so crazy. Like you frame questions. I listen to your podcast every week. And so you'll ask a question, and at least once during a podcast, the interviewee will be like, "That's a really good question." And it really is. You like ask these good questions because I completely forgot that I was so anti social media and had zero desire to do it. I joined so late, was not an early adopter at all, and even
Mhm.
when I came on it, I had no clue how to do it, how to post or what to that has changed significantly, and I was actually inspired by, again, someone you had on the podcast, Diana, right?
Yes.
Diana, yeah. When I listened to her episode with you and she mentioned being willing to be seen and put yourself out there and work with somebody to get your services out there. And I thought, okay. So I'm also on TikTok. And that's actually the best, like,
Yeah.
that's the one where I have the most followers. I think it
Oh,
drives the
yeah?
most traffic to my YouTube. Yes, you know why?
Uh-huh.
Because I post without abandon there.
Mm.
I don't know anybody on that app, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so I have the most followers. I post every single day.
Uh-huh.
I don't get caught up in what I just post because you just post to
Uh,
post, you know?
uh-huh.
And it has been so great at getting folks over to my YouTube channel.
Nice.
Instagram, I also post way more regularly, and I will say the impact I've seen that have so many people coming up to me, "I love your content," Like,
Mhm.
that's been really inspiring, or even other teachers, they're like, You're inspiring me to get more Pilates
Mhm.
content on my
Mhm.
social media," or, one of the best compliments I've heard is, "You seem so happy through the content," and those comments usually come from people who knew me in academia. So the contrast is probably pretty stark, because I was not happy in academia, especially the last like 5 years or whatever. So I love it. And to think I was so terribly shy before is it's so weird to think about that. Cause now I put all the stuff out there. I'm still
Yeah.
guarded, I'm not putting my child's face on there. I don't put my partner on there. And I don't talk too much about like my personal life.
Mhm.
But I love it as a tool to
Mhm.
to say what it is you're doing, because the ultimate goal is to help people.
Mhm.
My YouTube channel,
Yeah.
the goal is to help people connect to their body and move without having to leave the comfort of their home if they don't want to get a little, entertainment, because I do the whole thing and it's hard, but it's a good time. I think YouTube videos are great where you don't feel like you're just being talked at, but like you're being talked to, and that you're doing the workout with somebody, but with coaching and cueing. So, yeah, it's putting a big smile on my face. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
I
Yeah.
think it matters that you're enjoying doing it. Like you said, somebody told you that you look so happy. I
Mhm.
think it matters when you enjoy that you're doing it because I think it also obvious when somebody are doing it and they're not really enjoy doing it or they're kind
Mhm.
of forcing it or they feel like they have to post so they're posting. So I feel like it's so important no matter what kind of content or what you're putting out, but like it matters that you're actually enjoying doing that because
Mhm.
that shines through. And I'm just curious, how do you where do you find content to post every day? Like, because you said on TikTok you post every day, you're on YouTube, you do YouTube Shorts, Instagram. Um, my the wall that I run into is like I just run out of like I don't know what to post sometime. Like right
Mhm.
now I'm in this like block where I just don't have a lot to say or post or I'm not, I guess, inspired to. I still post for podcasts when I'm
Mhm.
releasing podcast episodes, I'll release those. But yeah. So how do you find creativity to continue posting so regularly and so often?
Lately, it's been my events promotion. Which in and of itself, we've talked about how that is just the worst in some ways. Yeah, so that's what it has been lately, is I've had so many events that I've been posting that, or when I go teach at events and they give me snippets of that, I'll repost it afterward.
Mm, mhm,
My big source of content comes from my YouTube channel. I have
mm,
so many videos on there, and then you use, Opus clips or vidIQ or something to clip it into shorts for
mhm.
you. I don't want anybody to think I know how to make those 15-second videos on my own. I do not. You know what I'm saying? Like you feel me? Like I use a program that clips it up for you and I just add
Yeah.
text. They're not as good as they could be. Put that out there right now. But that's why I love TikTok. It doesn't need to be super polished. You
Mhm.
just need to put a clip of you doing your YouTube video and then text that says why they should go check out your YouTube video. If they're looking for X, Y, and Z, go check this out. I got you, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So that's mostly what the content is. It's promoting events, using clips from those events, and then clips from my YouTube videos. It's endless. It's endless. It's endless because whenever you upload a new video to YouTube, if you put it into one of those programs, you have 10 to 15 shorts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is I
So,
think you told me about this, and I think it's such a great idea. And I've tried uploading my class videos because
mhm,
I teach online yoga classes too into Riverside, and they'll, spit out reels for you.
mhm,
It just like does it's not great for some
yeah,
reason. And I think it's because, well, first of all, like when you take a video or record yourself on YouTube or when I'm teaching, it's horizontal frame.
mhm,
So when you
mhm,
make it into this tiny, more vertical frame, like I'm completely cut off in certain area. So that's one thing. And
mhm,
another thing is maybe it's yoga instead of Pilates, but like it's not very exciting content for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Two things. So I work
Uh-huh.
with a videographer who has fancy enough equipment to film it in both frames. So he'll film one video and send me two versions. One is vertical and one is horizontal.
Wow, that's
So there's that.
amazing.
Yeah. So that fixes that issue.
Mhm.
I agree. So that's again, my YouTube videos, I'm chatty in them. Like
Mhm.
I'm doing the work, but I'm also like, you know,
Mhm.
I don't want to say making jokes, but kind of just making jokes, or the struggle is real. I batch record because it's not cheap
Mhm.
to work with a videographer. So I'll film
Mhm.
3 YouTube videos within an hour. So by the time
Mhm.
the second and third video, I am dying. If you're teaching a group class, it's when you get up and walk around because you tired. So you demonstrate for a few seconds and then you get up and help correct form and all of that. So when
Yeah.
you're doing it the whole time, I can't
Uh,
talk, my voice gets strained, and I just
mhm.
laugh or you know what I'm saying? So those are,
Mhm.
like, clippable moments that are relatable.
Yeah.
There are ways you should follow Yoga with Ramoni.
Okay.
She does, I think, super simple clips. Sometimes it's not
Mhm.
about what the clip is, it's about the text that's on the
Mm.
thing or the music or
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I don't think what
Yeah.
you're doing in the clip has to be exciting or something like that. I think it's more like it needs to match the music that you put with it and then have a captivating text on it
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
will encourage
Yeah.
folks to go check out your platform.
Yeah. Those are all great tips. Thank you.
The irony that I am somehow giving somebody else tips on social media is bizarre to me. Anybody in my life from like grad school would just be like, who are you? You know? But it is what it is. We evolve in this lifetime, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. No, I love that. And I also love that you are enjoying doing it. I think that's what matters probably the most out of everything is that you're enjoying, you're receiving joy out of this process and you're not doing because you feel like you're forced to or you have to or like you said, you keep coming back to your reason why, your core values.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I really want to help folks, you know?
Mhm.
I will also say all of this, I think I told you when I saw you in the studio earlier, I am in my red era. Okay. Like, my
Yes.
ambassadorship is about to end at Lululemon. So, while I get that nice little discount, I'm like getting, the stuff I want. And it's
Mhm.
bright red because I usually always wear dark colors because
Mhm.
of the way that I sweat when I work out. It's not
Yeah.
very flattering. Okay. I've never been that girl that just has the sweet little glisten on their face. No, I sweat and everywhere and it don't look good. So I always wear clothes where you can't see it. But
Mhm.
now that I'm in this phase of like, I want to have a presence, I want to be seen, I am pulling energy from red. It's a color I shy away from. And now I'm like, no, this is the color I need to wear. It's bright, it's bold, It is courageous and it matches my energy of this stage of my life. And I think there is something to like the way you present yourself and how you feel about yourself. So I am trying to match that up, and get out of my go to blacks and navies and all of that, you know? So what
Yeah.
if I sweat? Like that's what you're supposed to do when you're moving your body. So I
And you look amazing in red, by the way. So
thank
keep wearing
you.
red.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
So I have a question, kind of, I guess, going back to the little bit previous conversation about working events, workshops, special celebrations, and stuff like that. I know that's what you really love doing and you enjoy doing. And I want to hear maybe there's a couple questions from this. But first of all, because the nature of events, celebration, most of these are once off thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my mind goes, it's like a lot of effort for this once off event, or like maybe you
Mhm.
partner with one company or one
Mhm.
business or one partnership for once off, or it might happen a couple times a year. But whereas like my mind goes like, I want something more like scheduled, regular, weekly. I want that like consistency,
Mhm.
then there's like less effort I have to put in every time there's one big event, like in terms of
Mhm.
promoting or preparing. Kind of similar to like when I would prefer, this is just my personal thing, I would prefer like weekly private yoga class with one client I have for
Mhm.
like 5 years versus one big event or a couple big events. I feel like you have to kind of keep creating, keep chasing, keep making new events.
Mhm.
So how do you balance that, or is that something you enjoy doing?
I love that we are friends because I could not be more opposite from you. Be more opposite. I love the flexibility and randomness of a big event. I love it. It fits
Mm.
me to zero in on something and make it really, really good, and then to
Mhm,
go hibernate and be left alone for weeks. Like right now, this month was crazy. There were so
mm,
many events this month, and I'm edging on like, okay, I don't want to say the burnout word, but like I'm getting there because
mhm.
I am not meant for like a consistent way of doing, you know what I'm saying? That's why you heard me like 4 classes
Yeah.
a week. I'm trying to like wrap my head
Y
around that. Wow, the last person you interviewed said something so profound about burnout, and you were struck by it too.
Mm,
She said, sometimes yoga teachers are burnt out because they feel they need to create a new playlist every week or a new sequence every week. I do that.
mhm,
My ADHD mind needs something to create so that I am on it in my class. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Which is
mhm,
why I think 2 classes is perfect. Because with
mhm,
4 new playlists, 4 different
mhm.
sequences, 4 different, you know what I'm saying? And I'm
Yeah.
working on streamlining that. But I
Wait a
thrive.
minute, 1 second. You teach 4 classes.
Mhm.
I know one is vinyasa, you have 3 no, 1 strength and then 2 yoga laddis, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Even 2 yoga laddis, you make 2 separate class, 2 separate playlists?
Mhm.
I could not do that.
I'll say I've done this for a minute. Let me look at my Spotify. I have 586 playlists. So it's not
Wow.
hard for me
Uh-huh.
to pick, grab. I choreograph to songs. So I'm like, oh, I know
Mhm.
this one. I know this one. I know this one. So
Uh-huh.
it's not hard. It's not hard. It's
Mhm.
not completely reinventing the wheel. Parts of the
Mhm.
warm up are the same, parts of the cool down. Haha, I don't really have a cool down. But it's,
Mhm.
like
Uh-huh.
I've been doing it for a minute. And so I can literally put it together and make sure transitions make sense.
Mhm.
My goal with my 2 yoga Pilates classes, one, I've had regulars. They've been coming forever. It is an intense class.
Mhm.
Saturday is a more friendly class, it's a little
Mhm.
more doable. It's like bring a friend that maybe has never done it to class. I do
Mhm.
not recommend people bringing somebody to my 9 a.m. yoga Pilates class on Thursdays for the first time. I will
Mhm.
obviously take care of them and adjust and everything,
Mhm.
but that's why I do those different. And then the other
Mhm.
2 are different classes.
But do you think that's why teaching more than 4 is a challenge? More of a challenge for you because you feel like you do have to make new sequence and new playlists for every class that you teach every week?
When I was teaching more than 4, it wasn't that the issue because I had
Mhm.
different class types.
Mhm.
So I was
Mm,
doing that anyway.
okay. Yeah. Okay. So you were repeating when you were teaching 13 classes a week.
I
Is that
wasn't
mhm.
repeating because they were
Mm.
different formats.
Oh, yeah, 'cause yeah, mhm.
So hot
Yeah.
Pilates is different than yoga Lattes is different than
Mhm.
ex-former Pilates. I'll just say
Yeah.
reformer because that's people know that more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I do think that contributed to my burnout of
Mm.
like having to think of all these routines because they were different
Yeah.
modalities.
Yeah.
These 4 modalities, with the exception of vinyasa, are pretty much the same. And I've been teaching them forever and I'm so comfortable teaching them. Vinyasa is throwing me for a loop. That's kicking my ass right now, but
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
working with it and sticking with it and trying to get my vinyasa legs again. Flow for
Mhm.
anybody that may not know that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. I'm glad we talked about it because all of us are so different. Like I'm like, I would just rather have a same twice a week private
Mhm,
client for five,
mhm,
10 years more than doing an event. Like I think something like event will it tires me. That not
mhm,
only it's the preparing, prepping, logistics, and promoting is what
mhm.
in my mind I can feel as like a part that's going to be really hard for me to do some kind of once off events often. But then
So,
it's so interesting because we're it's the opposite. Like some people like you would prefer that.
I will also say that the work of preparing and all the administrative thing and promoting, that was really just Pilates and Palomas, and I have walked away from that event being like, "Never again." Loved the event. It was fire. The energy was through the roof. It was amazing. My goal is to show up and teach. Promoting is a grace that I'll give some folks that want me to, but my event is I show up to the event that's already curated. So I'm not like in the thick of, because that just takes me right back to being in academia. You know what I'm saying? And I don't wanna do that. I don't wanna work with vendors. I don't wanna need to get invoices. I don't wanna get quotes for food. So that's what's been
Mhm.
really wonderful about working with, like, Lululemon, and when people want me to come for a birthday party or an elopement celebration, they have figured out all of those great details. I am
Yeah.
showing up to teach. So there's still prep because I put a ton of love and
Mhm.
work and effort into creating a playlist, and
Yeah.
I have a gift with words. So I'll intertwine, like for the birthday party, did this
Mhm.
thing where I asked everybody to give me one word that described the birthday girl, and then I intertwine that into this. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
you
yeah.
get the effort there,
Mhm.
but I love it. That gives me
Yes.
so much life and so much energy. Whereas going to somebody's house and being one on one with them, I'm
Mhm.
like, it would be exhausting for me. Part of it is I have this way about me, I think a lot of people do, where people wanna tell me their whole life story. They will tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. I just met him. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of us have that energy about us as yoga teachers. And it was great, but it exhausts me, you know? Like, I would love to come here and teach you to move your body. We can talk life stuff over coffee or over whatever. My little experience with privates, it takes forever to get started because we're just chatting, 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 and then you spent way more time than what you've essentially paid. You know, with events, I'm like, "We're gonna start, I'm gonna teach, and I'm gonna go." Well, you hang out and chat with people or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's more life giving.
I no, I completely I now I understand the difference,
Okay.
right? Like some people
Yeah.
organize the event and they have to
Mhm.
find the vendors or
Yeah.
music or venue, negotiate, percentage split with the venue or the person you're collaborating with. Like you prefer not to do any of those. You want to show up to somebody's birthday party or wellness event. They're like, hey, we want to hire you. come in from this time, like, blah. And like you said, that doesn't mean there's no effort in that. Like you said, there's so
Mhm,
much thoughtful effort you put into that particular event for that particular person, if it's a birthday
mhm,
or elopement, which is the part that brings you a lot of joy to do.
mhm,
But then it makes me think, to get those kind of opportunity or request to come into those kind of birthday events,
mhm,
those things, that's very different than like people organizing, creating their own event, promoting it, and finding venue, getting it done. So
mhm,
in your case, you really have to be invited on. You're not creating
mhm,
those opportunities on your own, except for just
mhm.
making sure people know that you do those things. So that's the
And
hard
there
part for me, because I'm such a doer. Like, I wanna if I wanna do something, I wanna plan it and make it work. This is
yeah,
a date, this is what's happening, you know?
we are so different. We're so different. We'd probably partner really well together. We've talked about human design before. I don't think we talked about it on your last podcast, but the words you just used to describe what I do literally is the blueprint for a projector. You said you have to be invited, and then you come and you do it, and then you're off to rest. And that's literally the way that I am built. I am not built to plan and do and create and cold call and just randomly decide something that I want to do and go do it. It fails miserably. I've tried. I've tried. As opposed to when somebody invites me to come do something, it is completely different and goes, I'm not saying there's not always issues or that there's never any issues, because there are sometimes, but it's way more in line with how I work and how I think I am supposed to work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love
Like I
that.
said, this last event with Pilates and Palomas, I was doing that. I was more involved in the event planning than I wanted to be,
Mhm,
which was
mhm.
good. It's good. You have to do these things to learn what you want and what you don't want. And that
Yeah,
solidified for me that I'm good being asked to come teach,
mhm.
nothing else.
Yes, I love that. I mean, I would like that too. Okay, so last question before we wrap up. Since you've been doing these events and events, workshops, celebration quite a bit more these days, what have you learned? What have you learned about these kind of like outside of the yoga studio teaching opportunities? Anything you have learned? Any tips you want to share with listeners who are wanting to do what you're doing? Any mistakes you have made along the way that you can share that so that listeners can be aware of, or they don't have to make that same mistake you did, or whatever it
Mhm,
is, some kind of
mhm.
learning tips, advice.
You have to treat it like a business. And that's one of the hardest things, because if you're doing it in the way I am, the business that you're going to get is going to come from friends. You have to treat your friends like business clients. And that doesn't feel very comfortable, but it is necessary. So
Yeah.
shout out to Organic Adaptive, your good friend Joe, who's also in the
Yes.
mentorship, who you also interviewed. I have been working with Joe, her business, Organic Adaptive, on developing a website, which healingwithsunny.org is actually live if people wanted to go see it, has helped me come up with a form for events that outlines what it is that's being asked of me. So, like for the elopement party, she's like, okay, this is 2 hours of your time. Even though the class is 1 hour, you're getting there 30 minutes before, staying 30 minutes after, you're planning the class. You're not expected to bring props. You will bring a speaker. Like all of these details. When I was just like, oh, you want me to come teach? Sure, I'll teach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think of any of that. And when I told her this, her face was just like, girl, what are you doing? So create contracts for your gigs. Do it. And have those contracts be crystal clear, and have somebody else look at the contract. Have the contract signed before you give your services, and then go do it. Ask questions. Ask questions. If you have them, ask them. Even if it's friends, even if it's family, ask. Do not wait until you have already done the thing to get clarity and follow up. Get it before. And if you do not get what you need in terms of clarity before, be willing to walk away, even if it is friends, even if it is family, and then come back to it's just business, and prioritize your relationship with friends and family over business. but that doesn't mean that you sacrifice yourself. So if you have to walk away from something in order to prioritize your relationship without sacrificing your time and effort, do that. Sometimes I think people confuse you walking away with throwing away the relationship, when sometimes it's you walking away from the business opportunity that will salvage the relationship because you
Mm,
haven't abandoned yourself or
yeah.
undervalued yourself.
That's such good advice, Sunny.
Well, it's recent, okay? I've been through this recently, so it's fresh and it's clear because I haven't had a lot of time to tell myself a ton of stories around it,
Uh,
but just know that it comes from experience.
Yeah. No, that's such a good advice of like prioritize your friendship and family before business. But that doesn't mean you bend over backwards and do whatever they want for business you got into together. It also means respecting yourself and be like, actually, maybe it's better we don't work together. And let's
Mhm,
just like we're still friends or we're still
mhm,
family. Nothing has changed in that area, but it's maybe better we don't do this business together or event together.
mhm, mhm.
That's such a beautiful and intelligent way to put it. I have not thought about it that way. So I think that's such a good advice.
It's the way
So
to
good.
do it. I think we're taught to do the opposite in the
Mm-hmm.
name of keeping the relationship, but it's making it worse because then you're holding
Yeah.
on to all this resentment and it's
Mm,
going to express itself at some point, and then it can result in a blow up that literally severs the relationship permanently. Whereas
yeah.
if you can just be upfront right away, that's what
Mm-hmm.
can preserve it.
Mm-hmm.
In a
Yeah.
recent podcast episode I listened to of this woman on YouTube, she was like, be a bitch once. If you can be a bitch once in the beginning, it can save you from having to be a bitch multiple times later. And it's so true. She gave
It's
the
true.
example, she grew up with her parents just letting anybody come and stay with them when they were down bad or whatever. And when she caught herself starting to do the same thing, someone would need to stay with her or something. She didn't have the capacity, she didn't have the room, but she would let them come in anyway. Then they would be staying with her and it'd be like, don't talk to my kids that way. Don't spill that on the floor. Don't do this. Don't do that. And they would be like, gosh, can you just stop being a bitch about everything? And it was like, if she just would have been a bitch at the very beginning and said no and had the boundary, then it wouldn't be something you have to worry about. So that's my biggest lesson is if it doesn't feel right, if you can't come to terms, if you can't come to some agreement, acknowledge that first and then prioritize the relationship, which is so much more important. The business opportunities will come because we don't do that mess when we don't know the people. You know what I'm saying? There's some things that went down with some events
Yeah.
that I just would have walked away from. I wouldn't have done the things that I did if I wasn't in a good friendship with this person. I think this person wouldn't have allowed some of the vendors to do the things they did if they weren't close to her or family members, you know? And sometimes it works because people still treat family with the same level of professionalism that they would clients. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it doesn't work and I don't give second chances when it comes to that. You get once. You get one, and then it's done.
That's such a good advice and so many wise words there. And when you said you just have to be a bitch once in the very beginning, it's kind of what the waiver liability agreement forms
Mhm,
are. That's what it is. You do it in the
mhm,
beginning before there's any challenges or problems between the two parties that's involved.
mhm,
If you have everything clearly laid out in the beginning and you both parties sign it, then like that you laid out all the groundwork and everything else will hopefully and most likely will be a little bit smoother after.
mm,
And that's kind of like very similar to what I learned with private clients is make sure I have agreement forms, liability waiver in the very
mhm,
beginning. Like first meeting we do, I ask everybody to sign that paper that has cancellation policy, the cost, the
mhm,
expiration dates, all of it. So I don't have to talk about that rules again. And it doesn't
mhm.
mean like this is another point. It's like it doesn't mean I can be flexible. Like some
Yes.
emergency happens for my
Yeah.
private client, they have to cancel and like I
Mhm,
don't want to charge them. Maybe it's emergency, family problem, whatever happens. And I have like already built a relationship and rapport with my clients that I can say like, hey, I'm not gonna charge you for the cancellation policy. Like I
mhm,
completely understand
mhm,
you're going through a hard time right now. But
mhm.
it's so important that initial
Okay.
agreement forms, talked about, both parties agreed upon and signed. And then
Mhm.
later you can make exception if you want to.
100%. And
Yeah.
you talking about it that way makes me realize that the language of "be a bitch once" isn't even the right language. It's have your boundaries up front. That's all it is. We have to associate having a strong boundary with being a bitch, but it's not. It's just having a boundary, you
Yes.
know? Otherwise, it's gonna get broken initially and then again and again and again and again and again, and
Mhm.
it's just not the way to go.
Yes.
But you sometimes you
Mhm.
learn that by experience.
Totally. Yeah, I think so. We learn by making mistakes, or we learn by going through a hard situations, and then we realize, okay, this is so important to have for the future events or whatever partnership you have. So I think it's great that we're talking about it because hopefully listeners can, learn from our mistakes and can
Mhm,
have a clear agreement forms from the beginning, or any whatever situation they're in. I think it's very important. So thank you for
mhm.
sharing that. There's so
Of
many great
course.
words and advice in there. I love the relationship part.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I said, that's fresh and I feel good about the way that ended up because it could have been different, you know. I'm glad that the relationship is still there from like a personal standpoint and
Mhm.
business wise it's not, and that is okay, you know. At least it's not in the way that we did this last one. We can still work together, but I will have different boundaries and that'll make it better for everybody.
Yes, totally. Well, thank you so much, Sunny. I had a great time talking to you. I feel like we're just like having a coffee and chatting.
I know, it's like a Wednesday afternoon when we're walking over to our little coffee shop and yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like that. So maybe before we close,
Before we close, join Reika's mentorship. It is amazing if you are looking for some guidance on your journey in teaching, regardless of where you are. Y'all heard I'm 45 years old. I'm 6 years in, 7 years in. We have folks who are just starting. We have folks with more teaching experience than me. Like, what are you doing if you're not at least going to reikayoga.com and checking it out? It literally has changed my life. I've been with her from jump, right? Was I part of the first? Or maybe I came in a little bit later.
slightly later, but
Okay.
you're one of the originals.
I
I don't
mean,
know if
it's
that what
been
you call it.
5
You've been there the
years.
longest.
It's been
Yeah.
5 years, and I'm
Mhm.
amazed at how it is fresh and new and how much I'm learning. I had the light bulb moment during this podcast of how learning philosophy once a month in this really meaningful and deep way is impacting my life in a really meaningful and deep way. So I'm not trying to like convince or sell you because there's just no reason to. If you're looking for that and it's worth it to you and there's pricing options that are reasonable, I don't know why you wouldn't go check out the website and apply and join us because it is wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, Sunny.
You're
That
welcome.
means so much to me. So it makes my heart really warm to hear
Good.
that philosophy has had a lot of aha moment, or influential in your life, just because that's how it has been for me too. Just learning mostly Yoga Sutras with Patanjali is what we've been diving deep into, and what I dive deep into with my teacher too. So I'm very happy to hear that it also has that
Yay.
big of a influence, because I just love philosophy so much, and to be able to have a community to discuss and talk about it and relate it to
Mhm.
our life in a practical way, that's such a gem for sure.
Big time, big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, no, it's your dharma, I think, to be in this role and to be like guiding all of us in the way that you do, which is just super authentic, super approachable, very useful, very helpful. Um,
Thank you.
you're
Thank you so much. It
welcome.
means a lot to me.
Of
I really
course.
appreciate you. I really appreciate our friendship. I feel like our friendship has grown. Maybe we started out as a teacher student relationship, but I feel like you're my friend.
I do
So
too. I do too. I've bugged you
yeah.
twice to come on this podcast now. Like most people Reika reaches out and asks them to be interviewed, I've been like, "Girl, let me come on there. Let me come say this. Let me come let people know my updates and whatnot."
Yes.
I also wanna say shout you out because you've inspired me to do my events in a way that gives back.
Mm,
So, almost all, there's been one the events that I do, the proceeds, a portion of them, or sometimes all of them, are donated to a community organization, a local organization in Long Beach. We've
yeah.
donated to the Serenity brand, which my friend Sheree is the founder, creates mental health counseling services, mostly for
Mhm.
women of color, but they serve everybody. And then Pilates and Palomas, we were able to donate $250 to Orale. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but that's my best effort.
Mhm.
Orale, an organization that helps folks affected by ICE raids.
Mhm.
They actually have a whole bunch of services as it relates to immigrant families, but that's been, the focus lately. So
Mhm.
that feels really good to do. And that model stems from the way that you lead your online studio. And
Mm.
it's thank
Yeah.
you for modeling that because that has
Yeah.
been something that I've also taken on.
Mhm. Yes, and, yeah, thank you for naming that, and also thank you for doing all that great work in the community. It's just another great reminder for listeners listening that even if it's a small portion or maybe 1 hour you dedicate to every once a month or once a quarter, like, there's a lot that we can do as a yoga teachers to have a positive impact or influence in the world or
Mhm.
be part of the positive change in the world. So even if you're a yoga teacher, like we have power in even the smallest way to make a positive impact in our community. So I think that's a really great message for sure that we can hopefully pass it on to the listeners listening, inspire them to also do something similar.
Mhm.
Um, and how can listeners find you? How can they find you? What are some upcoming things coming up for you? Or is there any, yeah, like your YouTube, your
Mhm.
accounts? How can they come practice with you?
Oh my gosh, I would love to practice with you on YouTube. I would love for folks, if there's a rainy day, if you're stuck at home or you just can't get to the studio, I have 10-minute workouts. I have 20, 30-minute workouts, no equipment needed for some. So please come check out at Sunnyside Yoga Lattes or Yoga Lattes with Sunny. Searching either one of those will bring up my YouTube channel. Would love to see you there. Instagram has the same handle at Sunnyside Yoga Lattes, and so does my TikTok. So come check me out. She'll be in red. She be wearing red lately.
Yes, go check out her classes, events, and if you live far, if you don't live in Long Beach or Southern California, you can always practice with her on her YouTube account. And I'll
Yes.
make sure to link all of that on the show notes so people can do one click and find your YouTube and your website and all of that.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Sunny, for coming on and being a returning guest and doing a little catch up to see where your teaching life has evolved into. Yeah, it just felt like a nice chat we're having over coffee. So thank you. It was really fun for me.